True virtue, according to Epictetus, loves silence. Not a silence of evasion or secrecy, but a silence of deep, focused internal work. The moral progress of a human being, the journey toward wisdom and tranquility, is an inward craft that requires time, space, and freedom from external review. Imagine the building of the inner citadel, the fortress of the mind that Marcus Aurelius championed. This structure doesn't announce its completion. It simply stands resilient against the storms of fortune, its strength measured only by its resistance to external pressure. It is built stone by stone, quietly, beneath the surface of daily life. And yet, look at the compulsion of our modern world. We feel an overwhelming need to proclaim our commitments. I am starting Stoicism. I will practice morning reflection. Or, I am mastering my anger. Why do we seek this premature applause? Perhaps it is the desire for validation, or the need to receive the social reward of being seen as virtuous. But here is the profound danger, the critical Stoic lesson. Every word you spend describing your intention is energy diverted from your execution. It is a curious, deceptive paradox. Announcing your commitment publicly can actually drain the internal fortitude needed to make that commitment real. In the writings of Seneca and Epictetus, we see this error repeated throughout history. People with noble ambitions for self-mastery talk themselves out of the demanding philosophical work. They expose their fragile resolution, their moral purpose, to the cold winds of skepticism and distraction by telling too many people too soon. And before the roots of their virtue can take hold, the initial fire of commitment has burned itself out in idle chatter. Today, we will share the philosophy of keeping your ethical work close to your chest, not out of secrecy, but out of strategic self-preservation. We will explore how to cultivate a mindset that values consistent action over grand promises, focused attention over external fanfare, and demonstrated character over intellectual profession. Because ultimately, the only thing that matters is the character you have forged when no one was watching. The subtle relationship between the mind's intention and its capacity for action is critical to Stoic psychology. Every time you articulate your moral goals, your discipline, your resilience, your planned regimen, you release a portion of the moral energy that fuels your commitment. You dissipate the vital heat that should be contained and stoked in the quiet of your own mind. One psychological reason for this is simple. When you announce what you will do, you activate an illusion of progress. You say, I am going to start applying the dichotomy of control to my worries, and your friends nod, offering praise or encouragement. This feels good. That immediate sense of approval, that validation, is pleasant. But this is the danger. Your mind mistakes external approval for internal accomplishment. You have not yet faced the difficult reality of a genuine setback with grace, but you have already tasted the emotional reward. What happens next? The urgency to act diminishes. The fire cools. The moral transformation that once felt so necessary begins to feel like a concept you have already mastered in the realm of discourse. You settle into a state of premature comfort, and the arduous daily mental labor, the core of Stoicism, gets postponed indefinitely. This is how moral ambition dies, not from failure, but from the premature success of a boast. Some argue, but doesn't sharing my goals keep me accountable? Accountability has its place, but only under the right conditions. A public declaration places you under the supervision of people who may not understand the profound, non-competitive nature of philosophical work. Not everyone who listens to your commitment to live justly will grasp its difficulty. Some will question your motives or doubt your ability to maintain such a rigorous standard. Their skepticism might be unspoken, but it hangs in the air, a shadow cast over your conviction. If you are not careful, that shadow can infiltrate your own judgment. Suddenly, you are second-guessing your commitment, wondering if your standards are too high or if your philosophical path is too isolating. The point is not to silence yourself completely. The point is to share selectively, thoughtfully, and only when the time is strategically right. You must protect your moral growth in its early stages, much like a gardener shields a vulnerable sapling from harsh winds. Share your progress only with qualified mentors or close friends who genuinely understand the demanding nature of Stoic practice. But even then, keep the focus on the principles, not the personal performance. Do not let your deepest work become a spectacle before it has had a chance to become an internal, irreversible fact of your character. Stoic discretion is far more than simple silence. It is a powerful, active strategy for maximizing one's moral faculty and focusing energy. It is a practical application of the dichotomy of control, focusing only on what is within your power. There is a profound, stabilizing authority in letting your results be your only voice. There is a certain power in the unexpected demonstration of virtue, in letting your character speak for itself. Imagine this. You have been quietly practicing cognitive distancing, separating your rational judgment from emotional impressions for months, perhaps years. You haven't spoken a word about meditation or assent. Then one day you face a sudden, massive loss, a true indifferent. While others panic or dissolve into uncontrolled grief, you respond with measured calm, decisive action, and rational acceptance. The impact of this demonstration is far greater than if you had been lecturing people on the dichotomy of control for months. People will marvel at your composure because it appears to come from nowhere. It is evidence of a strength forged in the solitude of internal practice. It is a reminder that demonstrated resilience is always more compelling than spoken philosophy. Consider the two paths of commitment. I once knew an individual who, upon discovering Stoicism, was full of philosophical enthusiasm. At every social gathering, he would explain his newfound doctrines, detailing his planned regimen of reading, journaling, and daily acts of virtue. He talked constantly about the person he was going to be. People listened politely, but over time they grew skeptical. Months passed, and the man's temperament remained unchanged. He was still reactive, still prone to anxiety, still seeking external validation. The more he talked, the less people believed in his philosophy, and eventually he stopped believing in himself. Contrast this with a woman I knew who worked in a highly volatile, stressful environment. She never once mentioned her practice of philosophy. Instead of talking, she simply got to work. She read the texts, committed to her morning meditation, and quietly implemented techniques of handling adversity. She didn't announce her plans. She let her composure do the talking. When a major crisis hit the office, she was the only pillar of calm and measured action. Her colleagues asked, "How did you manage to stay so steady?" She simply smiled and said, "I have been training for this." The lesson is clear. The less you talk, the more time and energy you have to act. The less you seek external validation, the more inner conviction you build. The less you expose your developing discipline prematurely, the more control you exert over your own moral trajectory. This is not about being secretive. It is about strategic self-mastery. It is about recognizing that your commitment to virtue is worth protecting, and that your character's impact will always resonate louder than your philosophical declarations. How many times have you shared a deep moral commitment, only to feel the conviction slip away immediately afterward? How often have you let the casual opinions of others derail a perfectly sound plan for self-improvement? These are vital questions, as they reveal how much power we surrender when we speak too soon. The world is saturated with noise, endless opinions, constant distractions, and unsolicited advice. When you begin to share your inner resolutions too freely, you are inviting this noise directly into your inner citadel. You open the door to criticism, doubt, and even the subtle envy of those who resent your efforts because it reminds them of their own stagnation. These are powerful forces that can dismantle even the most reasoned plan. Think about the reaction. When you tell someone about your new commitment to emotional non-reaction, how often do they respond with true, unconditional philosophical support? Often, people respond with caution or discouragement. Are you sure you aren't becoming too detached? Or, that sounds a little extreme. These comments are not malicious, but they plant seeds of doubt in your mind, and doubt is the most dangerous weed to the root of moral conviction. Furthermore, there are the well-meaning but misguided advisors, those who genuinely want to help but end up confusing you with conflicting philosophical opinions and unsolicited suggestions. All of this noise pulls your focus away from your original clear vision, leaving your mind scattered and uncertain. This is why discretion is the protector of focused attention, the Stoic discipline of sustained awareness. When you keep your plans to yourself, you are safeguarding your focus. You are creating a quiet, concentrated space where your ideas and habits can grow free from the interference of others. It is like building a philosophical sanctuary for your intentions, where they can flourish under ideal conditions until they are robust enough to face the elements of human interaction. The establishment of momentum is a precious thing in the pursuit of Stoic virtue. It is the forward motion generated when you take consistent, purposeful action toward your highest good. Crucially, momentum thrives in silence. When your focus is entirely on doing the work, applying rational judgment, moderating desires, performing duties, rather than talking about the work, you build an unbreakable rhythm. Each small, disciplined step reinforces the next, and before you seek external recognition, you have already achieved significant internalized progress. Prematurely discussing your plans disrupts this rhythm. It shifts your cognitive focus from internal execution to external justification. Every moment spent explaining your philosophy or defending your decisions is a moment you are not moving forward. It's like trying to navigate a challenging philosophical path while constantly pausing to show spectators a map of where you intend to go. You lose speed, and worse, you lose the powerful sense of purpose that comes from staying in uninterrupted motion. Consider two approaches to writing. I knew a friend who decided to write a philosophical treatise. It was a lifelong dream. Instead of announcing it, he quietly committed to writing 500 words of reasoned argument every morning before dawn. He told no one, not even his closest friends. He simply worked day after day in silence. Months later, when he shared the final manuscript with a trusted circle, their reaction was pure admiration. They were stunned by the quality, but even more so by the integrity of his process. He had done it without seeking attention or validation. The work spoke for itself. Contrast this with another acquaintance, equally brilliant, who also set out to write. He spent months talking about the concept, sharing outlines, asking for opinions on every chapter title, and seeking approval for his central thesis. The more he talked, the less he wrote, and eventually, the project dissolved. Why? He spent all his energy seeking external approval instead of building internal momentum. The lesson in these two paths is profound. Action breeds authentic confidence. Too much talking breeds hesitation. When you take consistent action, even in small philosophical exercises, you prove to yourself that you are capable. You build a track record of reliability with yourself. But when you talk too much, you remain trapped in the realm of theoretical possibility, what could be, without ever crossing the bridge to moral reality. Some people worry that silence makes them seem aloof or secretive. But the truth of Stoicism is that discretion is about preserving your focus and protecting the value of your commitments. It is about recognizing that your journey toward wisdom is precious, and not everyone is entitled to a front row seat. Think of it. When you plant a rare, delicate seed, you do not invite the neighborhood to tromp through the soil before the first shoot appears. You guard the ground, you water it with care, and you wait. Only when the plant is mature and bearing fruit do you invite others to admire the result. The same principle applies to your inner goals. By keeping them private, you are not being secretive, you are being strategic. You are giving yourself the necessary space to grow, learn, and adapt without the crippling weight of external expectations. Moving in silence provides a profound, liberating freedom. It frees you from the weight of having to perform for others and allows you to operate entirely on your own internal terms, dictated by reason. When you announce your plans, you put yourself under a spotlight. Suddenly, people are watching, waiting, and judging. That pressure can be stifling, especially in the early stages when mistakes are inevitable. Success is rarely a straight line. It is a series of trials and errors. When you are under the public eye, every misstep is magnified and every delay is a source of potential criticism. But when you keep your work private, you grant yourself the freedom to fail quietly, to learn from mistakes without the added burden of external opinion. This is why discretion is not just a strategy. It is a gift of autonomy you give to yourself. It allows you to trust your own judgment more deeply, relying on your internal reason rather than the often conflicting opinions of the crowd. Your actions are your most powerful statement. When you achieve something significant, people will notice without you having to utter a single word. Your developed character will naturally attract attention, and that attention will be far more meaningful because it is a response to demonstrated reality, not a reaction to a hopeful announcement. The idea of keeping your moral work private is not about withholding or hiding. It is about recognizing that your energy, your focus, and your attention are too valuable to waste on idle discourse. It is about protecting the integrity of your practice until your new character is strong enough to stand on its own. When you choose to keep your philosophical work to yourself, you are making the ultimate statement of self-mastery, not to the world, but to your own mind. You are saying, I trust my ability to see this through. I do not require external applause to begin, and I do not require validation to continue. That self-reliance is the hallmark of a true Stoic. It grants you the freedom to act decisively, to learn without external shame, and to grow at the deliberate pace dictated by nature. And here is the beautiful consequence. When you succeed, you will inspire others most deeply, not by what you said you were going to do, but by the undeniable, quiet evidence of what you have already accomplished. Your actions become a beacon, a reminder that genuine progress stems from focus, discipline, and quiet determination. As you move forward from here, I challenge you to embrace this philosophy. The next time you set a profound goal for your character, resist the urge to announce it. Instead, internalize it, make a rational plan, and get to work. Let your actions do all the talking, and let your realized virtue be the only proof you ever need. Remember the words of the masters. True success doesn't need to shout. It doesn't require a spotlight or a stage. It grows quietly, steadily, in the unnoticed moments of daily commitment. Guard your focus, nurture your character, and let your life become your most profound, silent philosophy. If this message resonated with you, show your support for the philosophy by liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more guidance on living the Stoic life. And let me know in the comments below, what is one thing you are quietly working on right now? Share an inspirational sentence about your commitment to silent action.